Being very entitled and controlling, narcissists have no difficulty stepping all over your personal boundaries. So that's why I put together an extensive video class called This Is Me. It has 25 videos, written documents, guided questions. I'm going to teach you how to have healthy boundaries. There's a link below, and I hope you'll find it to be quite therapeutic. I want you to think about one of the basic realities of any kind of relationship, whether we're talking about in the work setting or in your marriage or with your children or extended family, social life. And the basic notion that I want us to consider is we differ. There are simply times when we don't have the same opinions. We have priorities or preferences that sometimes can clash with one another. Sometimes we are working on projects, or we have preferences about how things are supposed to be taken care of, and we don't have the same kind of mindset. And as a result, we don't always mesh. Now, this can happen on little small episodes, and this can happen in very large episodes or somewhere in between. And it's fascinating for me as I observe how narcissists respond to differences and especially conflicts, how so many of them will go straight into what I call the burn it down strategy. Rather than saying, we need to talk. We need to figure out why we differ, and let's talk about how we can understand one another and glean positives and insights from each other. They don't do that. For example, I've had people that will say, you know, this person and I had a small, insignificant disagreement, but before you know it, he was screaming at me, or she was bringing up historical kinds of evidences, and what seemed to be a relatively minor kind of episode turned into this barn burner of an argument. It's like, what's that all about? Or I've had other situations where, let's say that narcissistic person was caught in something that was very egregious. Maybe they had an extramarital affair, or maybe there was some violence that was there, or a really ugly argument, or maybe there was some gross financial mismanagement. And as you try to talk with that person, instead of saying, okay, I've got some serious soul searching I need to do. Again, what they'll do is they'll come at you with this burn it down kind of mentality. They go scorched earth on you. How dare you talk to me this way? Or if something negative happened to me, it had to be your fault. And so they just come at you with all sorts of fury and agitation and irritability. And you're wondering, what in the world is going on? And I know that so many of you have had episodes with narcissistic individuals who will take, let's say, sometimes 5 cents worth of frustration and spend $20 worth of anger on whatever's going on. Let's keep in mind that these are highly entitled individuals. They have this presumption that control is not just something they like. Control to them is their birthright. They need to control you, and they need to keep you on the agenda. And so they have a natural bent toward black and white, all or nothing kind of thinking. They tend not to have good insight and wisdom that they operate from. They're highly judgmental, and they're constantly in deflection mode. Whenever there's a problem, it's like, there's no way I'm taking responsibility for this. And so they look at you, it's like, I'm putting it all on your shoulders. And so they can take the natural possibility for problem solving in a healthy kind of way and just use it to destroy people and relationships and projects. And it's so unnecessary. Now, one of the things that we can say when we notice that narcissists will do this is their selfishness just so completely takes over in the midst of strain and difficulty. When the narcissist goes into the burn it down, scorched earth kind of mentality, what they're basically saying is like a little kid throwing a temper tantrum. I didn't get my way. You owe me, and so I'm going to make you pay. Or they're also implying, I want the perfect ideal. I want everything to go according to what my wonderful plans might be for me and my pleasure. And you didn't give me my perfect ideal. And even when they're trying to come to terms with their own contributions toward some of the difficulties, Instead of saying, I need to look at myself, they just go into this high blame and accusation and critical mindset. And I know that many of you have been exposed to this over and over, and you realize once they cross that line and go into their anger mode, there's nothing constructive about what they're saying and doing. They are highly destructive, and I'm going to get to that in just a moment. And you wind up being insulted and ridiculed, and the narcissist may say to you, this is over. I don't want to have anything to do with this. You're now my enemy. And you're thinking, it doesn't have to be this exaggerated. And yet, narcissists will very gladly bring their negativity. And there's kind of this assumption that if they come on really, really strong and loud and forceful or dominant or stubborn, then they think that somehow that's motivation for you to be a different and better person as far as they're concerned. And so it makes no particular sense. And as you observe this, you realize there are multiple things that we can pick up about what's going on inside the narcissist. Very clearly, we can say that narcissists who go into this burn it down kind of mentality are the victim. They're constantly playing the victim's role. Look how miserable you've made my life. Therefore, it becomes my task to make you even more miserable. And somehow, if they can do that, then that equals the scales out somehow. They can't be constructive. Like I say, they're highly destructive. They're very self-indulgent. They come at you in a real strong, overpowering, I deserve kind of mindset because they think that they indeed are better and you're just messing up their wonderful quality of life. And then they wind up minimizing anything that might be good in you or about you because you don't deserve good. They deserve it. And so they easily rationalize to themselves that they need to go into the destructive mode because you're such a damaged person. And there's so much projection that's going on. And I know that many times you're thinking, we don't have to go into this scorched earth kind of mentality. You know, if we differ, we can still sit down and talk in a diplomatic way. But the narcissist is like, I don't do diplomacy. I don't do decency. What I do is I bring shame to you. And the louder I am, the more overpowering I am, then that means I win. And surely you're going to get the message, and then you and I can get along just fine because I'll force you into my way of thinking. It's completely illogical. Now, there are multiple things about the narcissist that are revealed when they come at you with this scorched earth, burn it down kind of mindset towards conflict resolution. And first and foremost, we're going to be reminded these individuals are anchored in a mindset of judgment. You see, if you come along and you say, I differ from you, or if you do something that doesn't exactly fit their schematics, they're going to interpret that as, oh, so you're judging me to be inadequate, huh? You don't like the way I do things. And so they think in terms of judgment because that's how they operate. And you're over there thinking, this isn't me judging you or criticizing. This is just me being me. Is it okay to be distinct? And it's like, there you go, judging me again. I hate it when you do that. And there's no logic there. In addition, we can also say that this scorched earth, burn it down kind of mentality is actually anchored in fear. What they're saying when they come at you with such an overpowering style is, I'm threatened by you. I don't know what to do with you. I'm not certain how we can manage our differences, but one thing I do know is if I can come off in a real overwhelming kind of way, maybe you'll shut up and maybe you'll leave me alone for no other reason than to think that, I'm just going to come at you again. But make no mistake, these are fearful individuals. It's like, I feel inept. And I don't know how to trust. I don't know how to gauge another person's emotions at all. And then we can also say that whenever narcissists are nice to you or pleasant, but you just know that the scorched earth kind of reaction is just right around the corner, the niceness is phony. These individuals are not into coordination. They're not into collegiality. They're into power and dominance and being overwhelming. And somehow they've decided that if they can be the loudest person in the room or the most stubborn individual or the one who calls the shots, then they win. And as a result, you wind up scratching your head thinking, I know we could do differently, we could do better, but they just are not capable of doing that. Now, there's one really, really large awareness that I want you to hold on to as you try to come to terms with the narcissist burn it down kind of mentality. Keeping in mind that when narcissists are destructive toward you, it illustrates that actually there's a strong autobiographical element there. Inside, they already are in disarray. Their sense of well-being is destroyed. Their sense of happiness and peace and calmness is fleeting at best. When they're destructive toward you, they're basically saying, I'm giving you some of the chaos that resides on the inside of me, but I'm not going to call it that. I'm just going to call it your intransigence. But ultimately, there's a large projection of their dysregulated, unhappy form of life that they're coming at you with. And so it's so important because you know that when they go into the blame and the accusation and the shouting and all the rest, they so desperately want you to say, well, I guess it's my problem now. It's my fault. I have to take responsibility. And like I say, they're in constant deflector mode. So narcissists, when difficulties come, instead of maturity showing up at a moment like that, they burn their bridges. And they try they negate anything that might have been good between you and that individual. And if they can take your reputation down in the process, they're happy to do that. But I'm wondering if you can decide, I see what's going on here. And I recognize that they're coming from their place of internal destruction, and I can't afford to allow myself to be pulled into their sphere of influence. Basically, their desire to destroy me is a defining feature about who they are, but I don't take my cues from that that self-destructive individual. I stand for DRC, dignity, respect, and civility. Now, I hope that videos such as this can give you some good awareness of what you might be up against. If you've not already hit that subscribe button, I would encourage you to do so. Gus and I will send more videos in your direction. So hit that subscribe button, hit the like button too, and that helps us in our algorithms. If you have a need for therapy, and I know that many times when you've been exposed to this kind of pattern from these individuals, it would be helpful for you to have somebody to help you unpack it. I'm so pleased that I'm sponsored by the people at BetterHelp.com. I have been now for years. And there's a link below that will take you to their website. There's a whole team of licensed professional therapists that can assist you in online therapy. It's affordable, it's accessible, and I would encourage you to go that direction if that's a need that you would have. Likewise, I have my therapeutic courses, and these are like signing up for online classes. They're very extensive, multiple videos per course with written documents, guided questions. We have Ready, Set, Connect about having good connection skills. This is me about establishing your boundaries, free to be, finding yourself despite their control. We also have my webinars, and we're building up a library now of those. And my Surviving Narcissism podcast, we have our website with many articles and my books, lots of resources for you. I know that it wears you out when narcissists feel like it's justified to come at you with this scorched earth, burn it down kind of mindset. But I'm hoping you can see this is a really troubled little boy or little girl in an adult's body. And I'm hoping you can sidestep whatever inappropriate pronouncements they're trying to put onto you, because the bottom line is they're just simply projecting their own turmoil onto you. And knowing that, I'm hoping it can cause you to say, I want to be a person of steadiness, because my goal is not destruction. My goal is to be a person of peace.